Hello, everyone. In this video, we're going to show you how to submit a Maine individual income tax return, also known as a 1040-ME. For this particular example, we are going to demonstrate filing as a part-year resident. This process will include filling out the Schedule NR, which is also used by non-residents. Before we begin, these videos use example numbers for the purpose of demonstrating how the Maine Tax Portal, also known as the portal, works as a system and the basic mechanics of how to use the portal. The videos do not constitute tax advice. If you have a question about how to file your own taxes, how to file taxes for your business, or how to file the taxes you are preparing on behalf of an individual or entity, you should seek assistance from a tax professional. Now back to the content of this video. This is a non-logged in activity, so we'll begin on the Maine Tax Portal homepage. Here, various options are organized into categories using separate panels. We can navigate to the top left panel called Quick Links and click the File a Return or Form hyperlink, or we can navigate to the top right panel called Individuals and click the File an Individual Return hyperlink. You may click either, both will bring you to the same page. From here, we are going to review the left panel called Individual Returns and select one of the first three options. Each of these hyperlinks will bring us to the form specific to the tax year indicated. Only the current tax year and previous 2 tax years will be available to file on the portal. So we'll click the hyperlink for the year for which we'd like to file. And we're brought to the instructions page. We do encourage you to read this thoroughly before you begin. Since we have all necessary documents already ready, we're going to click Next to proceed with the return. On the Paid Preparer page, we can indicate if we are a paid preparer. For the purposes of today's demonstration, we're going to leave that as No and click Next to continue. Likewise, with the third-party designee page, we can enter in third-party designee information if applicable. For the purposes of today's demonstration, we'll click Next to proceed. Next, we're brought to the filing information screen. Few notes on this page. At the bottom of each screen, as we proceed through the return, there is a Save Draft button. You may click this at any time to save your progress. You may also click the Cancel button. This will halt the activity and not save your progress. Or you may click the Previous button to navigate back to a previous screen, or click on a previous screen name in the blue bar at the top of the screen. Required fields are indicated by a red asterisk, and the blue circled I indicates we can click for more information about what is being requested. And we can click out of that to close the description. So we'll fill out the required fields on this page, including our filing status, our residency status, our total number of exemptions, and our total number of children or dependents, if applicable. For the purposes of this demonstration, we are filing as a part-year resident, as we said at the beginning of this video. And for the purposes of this demonstration, we're also saying that we have 1 dependent. So we are asked if we filed a 2022 federal individual income tax return, also known as a 1040. And we're going to say yes. And because we've said yes, we're also asked if we itemized our deductions on our 2022 1040. And for the purposes of today's demonstration, we're just going to say no. There are a few other not required yes or no questions on this page that you'll just fill out as applicable to you and your situation. For the purposes of this demo, we are not going to demonstrate special filing circumstances where Schedule NRH may be the more advantageous method to use, the checkbox for which we can see here. If you're seeking further information on Schedule NRH and or whether it fits your situation, more information can be found on the Maine Revenue Services website, maine.gov/revenue. And since we're all done with this screen, we're going to click Next to proceed. Next are the part year residency dates. On this screen will indicate the dates that our Maine residency began and ended. And we'll click Next to continue. On the identification screen, we'll fill out our Social Security number, and again to confirm, as well as our first and last name. We'll also provide our phone number and our date of birth. And click Next to continue. And on the next screen, we'll provide that same information now for our spouse, since we've indicated that we are married filing jointly. So we'll enter in our spouse's Social Security number twice, their first and last name, and their birthday. And click Next to proceed. On the next screen, we are asked to provide our mailing address. As always, addresses must be verified by the United States Postal Service. Which we can do by clicking the blue hyperlink at the bottom of the screen. Once we've verified our address, we'll click Next to continue. Next is the W-2 information screen, where we can click the Add W-2 hyperlink to add our W-2 information. Because we are married filing jointly, we are asked to indicate whether this W-2 is for the first taxpayer listed on the return or for the spouse. For this first W-2, we're going to say the first taxpayer, here called the prime. And we can see that their social and name are auto-populated based on which spouse we've selected. We'll then fill out the W-2 information as it appears on our W-2, including the employer EIN and employer name. And as with the rest of the return, required fields are indicated by red asterisks, but you can provide additional information as applicable to you and your situation. And once we've entered in all information as it appears on our W-2, we'll click Add. And we can see that that W-2 has been added to the table. If you need to edit an entry after you've added it, you may click the pencil icon to edit. Or if you've entered something in error, you can click the X to delete that entry from the table. And you can click Add W-2 to add another and repeat this as needed. So for this demonstration, we'll now add a W-2 for the spouse. And again, fill out that same information as it is on the spouse's W-2. And once we've entered in all the spouse's W-2 information, we'll click Add. And we can see that that W-2 has been added to the table as well. The total Maine wages and total Maine income tax withheld are auto-calculated for us at the bottom of this page. We'll verify that that appears correct based on the information we've entered, and we'll click Next to continue. If we had any 1099-R information to report, we would click the Add 1099-R hyperlink and provide information based on what we have on our 1099-R. For the purposes of this demonstration, we're just going to click Cancel and continue on. Next, we're brought to the 1099-ME screen. And for this demonstration, we do have a 1099-ME. So we're going to click the Add hyperlink, indicate whether the 1099-ME is for the prime or the spouse, just like we did with the W-2, and enter in the required information as it appears on the 1099-ME. And that will include entering in our Maine income tax withheld. Once we filled out all required fields, we'll click Add. And we can see that that information has been added to the table. We can repeat this process as many times as necessary. If we needed to edit a previous entry, we could click the pencil icon. Or if we've made a mistake and need to start over, we can click the X to delete an entry in the table. And the total Maine income tax withheld on all the 1099-MEs that we've entered is auto-calculated at the bottom of the screen. We'll verify that this looks correct and click Next to continue. On the Maine income tax withheld summary, the withholding information provided on the previous pages is reiterated back to us. If we had other tax documents that included Maine income tax withheld, we would also enter the total of that Maine withholding here. Since we do not have any other tax documents that include Maine income tax withheld, we'll click Next to proceed. On the next screen, we will provide our federal adjusted gross income as it appears on our federal return. And click Next to continue. On the Schedule 1A, we'll enter in any income addition modifications as applicable to us and our situation. For the purposes of this demonstration, we don't have any addition modifications, so we're just going to click Next to proceed. Same thing for the Schedule 1S. We'll enter in any income subtraction modifications as applicable to us and our situation. And for this demo, we are going to put $500 for US government bond interest. And click Next to proceed. On the next page, we reach our first milestone. Here we can see that our federal adjusted gross income and other information provided previously have led to an auto calculation of our tax. And we'll click Next to continue. Next, we're brought to the worksheet B, where there are quite a few instructions. We do encourage you to read those thoroughly before you begin. We are going to fill out this table as applicable to us and our situation. So we're going to fill out various income information, whether that was earned during our resident period or our non-resident period, and whether, if it was earned during our non-resident period, it came from a Maine source. And if you need to edit any information, you can click back into a field if you've made a mistake, or if you need to delete a row, you may click the X in the leftmost column. And you can repeat this as many times as needed. More rows will be added to the table as you fill them out. The totals appear at the bottom of each column, and those are auto-calculated for us based on the information entered. And once we've confirmed everything looks correct, we'll click Next to proceed. Next is the Schedule NR. The numbers on this page are mostly auto-calculated based on the information provided in the worksheet B. Since we claimed a Schedule 1 income subtraction and that subtraction was from a non-Maine source, we'll enter it here. And we can see that that does change the calculation and that we are required to provide some information about which income subtractions are being entered here in case we had multiple subtractions. Right, so we'll review the rest of this page and verify that the numbers look correct. As we can see, our ratio of Maine adjusted gross income is calculated for us. And at the very end, we can see our non-resident credit is calculated for us. And we'll click Next to proceed. Next, we're brought to the Schedule A questions page. Saying yes to these questions will direct us to fill out additional information on the following pages. Depending on your answers, your form may have additional screens between this screen here and the Schedule A non-refundable credits page that we're going to see next in this demonstration. We're going to leave all the questions checked no and click Next to continue. And we're brought to the Schedule A non-refundable credits screen. Because we have a dependent and are part-year residents, the non-refundable dependent exemption tax credit is shown on our Schedule A, already prorated for us based on our schedule and our information. We don't have anything else to enter for the purposes of this demonstration, so we're going to click Next to proceed. And we're brought to the Schedule A refundable credits page. We'll fill this out as applicable to us and our situation. In this case, we don't have any to add, so we'll click Next to continue. And on the next page, we reach our second milestone. Here we can see that our previously entered non-refundable tax credits have been applied against our total tax, and our net tax has been auto-calculated for us. We did not claim any refundable credits, but if you did, you may notice that you don't see them here. Any refundable credits you claimed will be shown at the next milestone. And we'll click Next to proceed. We are asked if we'd like to file for the Property Tax Fairness Credit and Sales Tax Fairness Credit, also known as PTFC and STFC. For the purposes of this demonstration, we're going to say no and click Next to continue. We've now reached our third milestone. Here we can see our withholding reiterated back to us based on the information provided earlier. And if we had entered any, we would also see any refundable credits, PTFC and STFC. If you know you have made any estimated payments, extension payments, or real estate withholding payments for the tax year for which you are filing, or if you know you had an overpayment on the prior tax year that you opted to have carried forward and applied against this tax year's liability, you can enter the amount here. For the purposes of this demonstration, we do not have any carry forward, or other types of payments. So we're going to click Next to proceed. On the Schedule CP, we can enter in any charitable contributions. And depending on the time of year, you may also have the option to request a current season park pass. For the purposes of this demonstration, we'll click Next to continue. On our fourth milestone, we can see the results of our Schedule CP and input any use tax or sales tax on casual rentals that we have to report. And we'll click Next to continue. Next is the attachments screen, where we can add any supporting documents for our return. Because we are filing as a part-year resident, we are required to attach our federal individual income tax return. So we'll click the Add Attachment hyperlink, select the type of file that we are attaching, browse for our file, and click OK. And we can see that that file has been attached and that the requirement for it is checked off. We will repeat this process as many times as necessary to attach all required documents. In this case, since that was the only required document, we may also attach some of the optional supporting documents just to help process our return. So we'll go ahead and click Add Attachment again. Select the type of file that we are attaching. Browse for our file. And click OK. And even though the Form W-2 was not required, we can see that it has been added to the attachments list and checked off the checklist. We would repeat that process as many times as necessary, and when we're ready, we'll click Next to proceed. Next, we are brought to the balance page, where our overpayment or amount due is indicated based on all of the information entered throughout the return. For the purposes of today's demonstration, we have an amount due, so we're asked if we'd like to make a payment now. And we're going to say yes, and click Next to continue. Next is the payment screen, where we'll provide our routing number, our account number, and our account number again to confirm. We'll also indicate whether this account is checking or savings. The payment date will default to today, but we may future date this if we need to, provided that the payment is not already past due. The payment amount will default to the total, or we can enter another amount. For the purposes of today's demonstration, we'll just leave it as the full and confirm that amount again. And click Next to proceed. Next is the summary screen, where the information entered so far on this return is reiterated back to us. We'll review this and make sure that it looks correct. And click Next to continue. On the declaration page, we will check the box indicating that this return is true, correct, and complete, and enter in the name of the person filing this return. And again, to confirm. And we'll click Submit. We'll enter in our email address. Twice to confirm. And we'll check the box indicating that we are not a robot. You may get the reCAPTCHA pop-up asking you to verify some images. And once you've completed that, you can click OK. Our email address is reiterated back to us on the confirmation screen, along with our confirmation code. These may be used to search the submission at a later time. And as always, Maine Revenue Services recommends that you keep this information for your records. That concludes our demonstration of how to submit a Maine individual income tax return as a part-year resident or non-resident. Thank you all for watching.